I want to bring into the conversation now Massimo Faggioli. He joins us from Villanova, Pennsylvania, where he's a historian and theologian at Villanova University. Welcome, Massimo.
Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for joining us. And I want to ask you, you've been following this very closely. What are your thoughts on the Pope having sort of dismissed these victims in Chile? And what do you think is going on here?
I think it's a serious incident. It's a serious mistake that Pope Francis made by making those statements in Chile and years before in the appointment of Bishop Barros. Honestly, I think it's more an incident than the signal that we are going back to the times when we were in complete denial. I think he made an incorrect statement on the airplane when he said that he hadn't received, that the victims hadn't come forward. So I think, honestly, that he misspoke. It was a lapsus also because in this time it's very unlikely that one person in charge of a very large institution thinks that can get away with this kind of false statement. So I think he misspoke. There is a very complicated situation there that has to do with ecclesiastical politics. That's one side, that the Roman connections of the church in Chile. There is a larger issue about how the Catholic Church can and should fight the sex abuse scandal. There are short-term measures that have been taken. I think they are clearly insufficient. There are to be taken long-term measures, and here the history of the Catholic Church, the previous century, can teach us something about how much time it takes, what kind of thinking.
Well, before we get, Massimo, to what the church can and should do going forward, I want to hear from you about what you think Pope Francis has done so far. If we can give him a grade, you're a professor at a Catholic university. Francis is the first new pope since the Catholic Church was rocked by the worldwide reports of clergy sex abuse. And like Pope Benedict before him, he has apologized for the damage done. And he has said that he has a zero-tolerance policy, and yet at the same time, he made these stunning statements both in Iquique, northern Chile, and on the plane after the trip, saying no one victim has come forward in Chile. Show me the proof. This is slander and calumny. So how do you grade this Pope so far on his handling of sexual abuse claims and victims who, for that matter, say that they couldn't, possibly take a selfie of themselves being abused by a priest and witnessed by a bishop? So what sort of proof are they supposed to provide?
Well, it's very hard for a Catholic theologian to give grades to the Pope, as you can imagine. But here, in terms of the way he has handled communication and the image of his pontificate on the sex abuse crisis is clearly a failing grade. There's no question about that. He hasn't shown that he cares as much as he should. I am Italian. I moved to the U.S., and I've learned here how important that is. On the other hand, he has taken steps that are still incomplete, but that are aimed at creating a new culture in the Catholic Church about the awareness of these abuses, a culture of transparency. There are experts in the Vatican who try...
Okay, hold that thought, Massimo. Massimo Faggioli of Villanova University. Stay with us.